Hi, I'm Father Jim Forson, and I'd like to share with you a few thoughts on the gospel of this second Sunday in Ordinary Time. You know, a common thing that happens when people are meeting each other for the first time at some kind of gathering is they'll say to each other, where are you from? And it's kind of a way of getting to know who this person is. And when people ask me, where are you from? My answer is always the same, I'm from LA. And sometimes people in LA will say, oh, really, what part of LA? And my answer is always, I'm from the Valley. And anybody from LA knows that when you say, I'm from the Valley, you mean the San Fernando Valley. And that's how I always introduce myself, until I went to work in Baldwin Park, which is in the San Gabriel Valley. And I came to find out that the people living in the San Gabriel Valley in LA County are very sensitive, because I was asked, where are you from? And I said, the Valley. And they said, we live in a valley too. We live in the San Gabriel Valley too. Yeesh. So when people ask me where I'm from, I just say LA. But that is somewhat similar to what is being asked in the gospel. These disciples of John the Baptist are told by John, go follow Jesus, because John sees Jesus walking by, and they begin following him, and they ask him, where are you staying? And he says to them, come and see. And that sounds like, where are you spending the night? And, well, come, we'll find out. But in John's gospel, there is always a theological truth that is just beneath the surface. The conversation is not what you think it is. It's something far deeper. Where are you staying? Better translation is, where do you abide? Or where are you rooted? Who are you rooted in? That's really what the question is. And Jesus' answer, as he would go on to say later in John's gospel, is, I abide in God, and God abides in me. I am rooted in God. That's where I live. When someone is rooted in God, you know it, because goodness comes out of them. When someone is abiding in God, that sense of deep down integrity is just something you just feel. That sense of mercy that comes out of them, and the acceptance of the other. All of that is what happens when someone abides in God, is rooted in God. No wonder people followed Jesus. No wonder Andrew and the other apostle immediately began following him. And then Andrew would ask his brother Peter to come, and Peter began to follow. Remember the story when Jesus was walking along the lakeside and said to the apostles, come and follow me. They immediately followed him, because when you encounter goodness, when you encounter that kind of integrity, that kind of mercy, it's so attractive. You want to be around it. You want to be next to it. No wonder Matthew, the tax collector, who had a very lucrative business, would leave it all behind just to be able to follow. Jesus' rootedness in God, his abiding in God, where he lived, was such a magnet for people. They could not help but follow him. So, where am I rooted? Where are we rooted? Well, I guess I could say, my roots are in my family, or I'm rooted in my culture, the country I was born into, my faith. All of those are where my roots are. That's all very true. But maybe the gospel today is calling us to be, as was Jesus, rooted in God. Because if we were living a life rooted in God, imagine what that life would be like. We would be living a life like Jesus, a life of great integrity, a life of goodness, a life of mercy, a life of being able to be with people and accept people. And just that very life we would be living would be drawing people to God. Imagine living that life rooted in God. You know, I told you I grew up in the valley, the San Fernando Valley. And in LA, you could just tell by the way somebody was talking if they were from the San Fernando Valley or not. Because if you heard somebody saying something like, "Totally, dude, tubular, tasty waves," you knew in a heartbeat, that guy is from the valley. Oh, there was one time I was listening to TV and there was a young boy, about 10, 12 years old, being interviewed, and his accent and the way he responded to questions was so respectful. Every answer out of him was, "Yes, ma'am. No, sir. I thank you very much. I'm deeply appreciative of all you have done for me. Thank you." And I heard that accent, and I saw how well-mannered he was. I just knew in a heartbeat. I don't know where he's from, but he's from the South somewhere. Has to be. That accent, those manners. Imagine if we lived a life rooted in God, the very qualities that would come out of us. Imagine those leading people to be able to say, "Oh, yeah, I know where he's from. He's from God. He is rooted in God."